Congressman Jared Moskowitz is a Democrat of Florida. He served as Florida's director of emergency management under Governor Ron DeSantis, and he joins me now. Congressman, it's good to have you on.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
So, first I want to just start at the policy level, because I think one way you can view these sort of the lack of disaster declarations, the lack of FEMA personnel on the ground in these places, whether it's in Missouri, Mississippi, or Kentucky, is things are falling through the cracks or incompetence. But it does seem that actually there's a policy agenda here, which is this is not the federal government's job. We want to get rid of FEMA, and the states can figure it out themselves. Is that your understanding of what the Trump administration approach is to emergency disaster response?
Oh, Chris, you're being kind. You're pretending like there's a plan here. Look, there is, always a push-pull, I think, in the staff and the administration between the sane and the insane. And I think the sane people in the administration know that you got to keep FEMA. It needs reform. Look, the president's correct that FEMA needs to be reformed. The emergency management industry has been saying that for a long time. One of those reforms is to get it out of Homeland, which is too bureaucratic. It's too big. It's using FEMA to do all sorts of grants on immigration that they shouldn't be doing. And FEMA's lost its focus on response and recovery. It's why FEMA has gotten slower. And so people have known FEMA needs reform. But then you have these folks, that are in the administration that, want to talk about eliminating FEMA. Let me be clear. If you eliminate FEMA, red states are in very big trouble. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama go bankrupt if a Category 4 storm comes in from the Gulf of America into there. Those states are done. And so, look, right now I think the administration started with heavy talk about getting rid of FEMA. Today they had the FEMA Council, which I support. The president put that together to reform FEMA. And actually they talked at that council today for the first time about those reforms rather than elimination.
Okay, but even if they're talking about that, like at the agency level, it doesn't seem like things are working. Like you've got the acting head got kicked out, and you've got the replacement now. This is David Richardson. He warned staff in a meeting to try not to impede upcoming changes, saying, I will run right over you, while also suggesting policy changes that would push more responsibilities to the states. I'm not sure if this is the right guy for the job, but whether he is or not, you've got, it seems, huge holes here where you've got no emergency disaster declarations and no real personnel on the ground in these places that have just had emergencies.
Yeah, and that's by design, right? They realize that they have the Stafford Act, which is in statute. So what they're doing is they're not issuing declarations so that the Stafford Act doesn't get triggered. Look, even Governor Huckabee of Arkansas, who worked for the president, had problems for weeks on getting that declaration. So that's by design. Look, the new interim administrator who they picked, doesn't have any FEMA experience. He does have experience in weapons of mass destruction, which is interesting because Kristi Noem has dropped the bomb on the agency. And so, what I would say is that this was an agency that needed help and needed reform. And instead what they did is they got rid of 30% of the people who worked there, some of the most senior people who knew what they were doing. And they've turned FEMA into Newark Airport. And I will tell you, we are going to see FEMA not respond if we have a big disaster. If they get lucky and we don't have a big hurricane, or we don't have something like an earthquake, which hasn't happened since the 90s in California, if we don't have something big, they may get lucky. But if we get a Category 3 or stronger storm, along the Atlantic or in the Gulf, I'm telling you right now, you're going to see a Michael Brown situation.
Well, I want to play you. This Josh Hawley, Senator of Missouri, his sound today, basically pleading with Noem on this, was pretty striking. Take a listen.
The state has pending 3 requests for major disaster declarations from earlier storms. We've lost over a dozen people. Well, actually, if you count the folks we lost just on Friday, we've lost almost 20 people now in major storms just in the last 2 months in Missouri. It's been a terrible spring for us. Here again, can I ask for your help? Will you commit to helping for those 3 major disaster declaration requests that are pending? Will you help expedite those, Secretary Noem, and get those in front of the president, get those approved? We are desperate for the assistance in Missouri.
Yes, absolutely.
And what I'm hearing from you is she may say yes, but they don't want to. The White House doesn't want to.
Yeah, Well, I don't know who, if it's whether the secretary's not giving it to the White House. I mean, I don't know. Who the heck knows? But they're not doing it. They're specifically not granting things. And when we get into hurricane season, Chris, there's something called a pre-landfall deck, which is as that Category 3 or Category 4 storm is approaching, you get a deck before it hits. So that way you can start moving logistics, moving resources, moving, you know, life, health, safety stuff. You can move swift water rescue crews. If they don't get that pre-landfall deck, the local governments in the states don't know if they're going to be reimbursed. It will affect their spending. It will affect response. So this is very dangerous policy if they don't figure this out.
That is really something to look for. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a really, really good point for us to stay on. Congressman Jared Moskowitz, thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.